Okay, family, here we go. Ready or not. Introduction to the series or the playlist we shall call I Can Tell Ya, But I'd Have to Kill Ya. So, yes, funny. It's funny and I laugh, but in reality, if you've seen my introduction of myself, on this channel, the playlist called Introduction of Myself. I think it's in 2 parts. You may already be aware that there have been 7 attempts on my life since I checked out of Hotel California. And, ultimately it just tells me that, it tells me a lot of things. And, I have a choice then to say, well, I'm scared, so I'm going to back off for a while and then come back out again and regroup, and maybe my timing is off or something, and then you just work with the flow in that way. Yeah. But having said that, I took a bunch of notes here because I do want to stay on track. It's a lot of information to convey, and I'm going to do my best to share it with you. And if it resonates or it's a blessing to you or you find it informative or helpful, then it's my honor to share that. But in all reality, I shall not be disclosing some certain things just yet, I don't believe. Not until the Ides of March have passed. And certainly some things are going to have to wait until the end of this year on Caesar's calendar, a fake time. 2024, the Pachikutek. But I want to note that I did make an attempt, always, personally, privately with friends and acquaintances and stuff. But online, I tried to bring up this topic back in 2020, and it was buried in a series that I had called The Corona Game, and specifically it was video number 7, and that's not the only one that was erased by the fact checkers. Everybody remember the fact checkers back in 2020, huh? All those, Anthony Fauci, University of Bill Gates fact checkers and their fake science and stuff. Boy, who can forget that? Well, I suppose we can consider that was the opening salvo for many different things, but just from an ancestral perspective or First Nations people perspective, it would be considered the opening of the Pachikutek, the 4 years of chaos and confusion. Now, of course, this is all relative because if you want my humble opinion, I walked into chaos and confusion when I came out of the womb, so it's been a lot longer than 4 years in reality, but here we are. This is when the shit show gets real and the veil comes off and you begin to see. It's the apocalypse, the unveiling in a time of great deception. Okay, so I took some notes here. I want to make sure I stay on track. So, yes, in this series called The Corona Game, why the name Corona? Well, that's a good question. Let's ask about that, because if we remember at the beginning of this PSYOP or psychological operation, PSYOP is what we say in the military for short. And damn near everything on this planet is a PSYOP, but but anyway, you know the one I'm talking about, the one with the mask mandates and the border closures and the truckers having their funds seized or whatever, all that nonsense. Well, anyway, that was a PSYOP. It was actually a false flag. And it was meant to provide the distraction required for the process of, which was already well underway, of dismantling the United States economy and the US dollar, as well as many, if not all, of the other debt-based currencies simultaneously. It's like the grand finale. It's kind of like, I forget which video I posted this in, but I made a reference to market conditions and economy and the outlook, and I had said that if we don't take action now, and this was back in 2008 or 2009, if we don't take action now, then the next market crash, because they're all orchestrated market crashes, every bloody one of them. Don't forget that, family. But remember the one in 2008, if you remember that, it was very clear that the next vulture capitalist consolidation of the net worth of the people, as well as the GDP of the entire planet, would be consumed in one fell swoop. And the words I used to describe how that would look like would be, I said it will be 1929. If anybody's familiar with the Great Depression of 1929, plus 2008, that the pain that was felt after the 2008 and the losses that were suffered after 2008 market crash, times 1,000. And that's really quite literally the words I used to describe it, and most people couldn't get their head around that. But I believe they're beginning to understand now. And so perhaps my timing was off, and I'm just here 4 years later repeating the message. And doing so before the Ides of March have passed, and doing so just as we are finishing the last year of the Pachikutik. So so why did they, excuse me, why did they call it the corona? Because the corona in Spanish is crown, and that refers to your crown chakra, your connection to source, your connection to the creator, right? And the idea was to install a virus in there to cause the corona chakra to malfunction. And this is like layman's terms for another way to describe it would be like to try and completely detach humanity from its connection to the creator, to the divine intelligence of you know, how do you say, O Mateo, Father, Mother, Creator, you know, all that is, all that was, all that, the Alpha, the Omega, all that, right? The spiritual essence, right? And it's through this connection that we have this attachment to the Father, the Father Sky, or the Sun, that represents the masculine, and as you're probably painfully aware, is an element very much missing in our society these days. But if I had said in this series number 7 of the Corona game, I had explained what it was. Like, they're coming after your Corona chakra. That is what they're coming for. They have to disclose it, no matter how sneaky it is. It doesn't matter if they get your tacit consent or your informed consent, because you're not making any effort, not you personally, but, you know, I'm just referring to humanity writ large. If you're not personally exercising your free will choice to say, you know, I don't know that I can trust Anthony Fauci and Bill Gates and whoever to rule the world with a medical mafia. I just, like, I'm sorry, I just have to use the 5-year-old perspective again. But nonetheless, I had said in this fact-checked and removed, without even notifying me, this video that was removed, I had said that, here we go. I said, look, you know, everybody knows I'm not into like leader-follower relationships, so I'm not into the mind control, the government kind of concept of going through the voting ritual and pretending that you can delegate every aspect of your life and all responsibility for every fucking thing to some organization who's just gonna dork it up. Anyway, I don't want to digress here too much, but I did make it clear that if one were inclined to still continue to believe in the political system, and that back in, like, I think it was 2020 quest. I just got back down off the mountain from my 9-day vision quest. That's right. And I remember all my statist friends back here in town were all like, all up in arms because the so-called election results were still pending. And here it was, like, I mean, I came back from the mountain towards the first week of December and they were still messing about with that. So I was like, well, okay, so if it was true that, okay, let me put this in the perspective of the people who were wanting the Trump character to get back in the game, back on the stage. So I referred to him as Ronald McDonald, the Trump card clown. Yes, you can use that. I don't have a copyright on that phrase. Please feel free to share. I think it's pretty obvious why I gave him that nickname, Ronald McDonald. Like, that's his name or something, isn't it? Donald Trump or something, right? And the Trump card clown, obviously he looks like a clown, but how many Trump Joker, yeah, that's another clue. Trump card, like Trump in a deck of cards is the Joker card. That means you can pull it out of your hand and use it any way you want to. But do you know what game you're playing? If you have 2 kings and 2 tens and you got a Joker and you can turn it into either a full house of kings over tens or tens over kings, which one would you go for instance? Then I also made note of how many, this is so obvious, like it's so in your face. I made note of how many decks of cards that he has in all of his casinos. And so how many potential Joker cards there are for us to pull out of the deck, given our actor on the stage, regardless of how annoying or revolting even. I'm not here to judge. I'm just here to say that's the actor on our stage. Let's stop bitching and moaning and make the best we can with what we got. All right? That's all I'm saying. Like, stop whining. You're either part of the solution or you're part of the problem. Lead, follow, or get out of the way. So I was like, so this Ronald McDonald, the Trump card character, is let's manifest that he departs the Oval Office in this so-called defeat by the Joe Biden, Pedo Joe character, whatever, crackhead family, I'm not sure what you call that. It's so obvious. Like, anyway, I said, let's bring him and a couple of the swamp creatures out of Washington District of Criminals. Let's get him out of the Oval Office. Oval, the feminine shape of the womb that gives birth to everything. Let's get him out of that chief executive officer's Oval Office and bring him with a couple of swamp creatures just for the purpose of continuity and fluidity of the new infrastructure. And also bring them down to Miami. I don't know why I said Miami. It just popped into my head and I shared it. Bring them down to Miami. And then also the Ronald McDonald Trump card clown is very good at bankruptcy stuff. In fact, that's how he made all his money. So we could just finalize the for Portofino, because the United States has actually been bankrupt since right around the time of the so-called Civil War, if I remember correctly. It might be earlier than that, but I believe it was at least by that point the United States had been incorporated and simultaneously bankrupted. So let's finalize this bankruptcy proceedings, ultimately, and just declare insolvency of the corporation of the United States. It's pretty clear. It's insolvent. I mean, it's drowning in debt, and it's, well, yeah. It needs to go. The corporation needs to go, and the republic needs to be restored. So I had said that this Trump guy should go down to Florida with the few of the swamp creatures and sit down at the negotiations for the bank. And this is literally how I do it. Literally, like, because I'm just so bossy, right? I'm like so 2 years old, right? And I just say, I'm sitting there right next to the Trump card at this like table of negotiations for the bankruptcy proceedings, and I tell him what to say. He's an actor on my stage. And if he's not fulfilling the dream that is in alignment with me and what I want to see on my stage, then he needs my direction. So I pop into the room. We used to call that remote viewing. It's fairly easy. It's not really that hard. And just go in there in the bankruptcy proceedings and say, look, you say exactly these words. And I tell them exactly the words to say. I think y'all have seen some of this for real on the politicians that get up on stage, and there's somebody in the background and that's doing like this and telling them what to say. I think there's videos of that out there now. So this is not that big of a deal. So here I am in the room with the Trump card clown and telling him what to say at the bankruptcy proceedings. And it went like this. Hello, Mr. Central Bankers and swamp creatures assembled around this table, all those affiliated with the Federal Reserve Systems and the IMF and the World Bank and just the scourge of society writ large. Thank you for joining me today. I want to first give you thanks for playing your role on the stage in the end times of this Kali Yuga to explore to the absolute depths of our depravity what is possible with the human consciousness. But now that it is the 500 years, it's the 500 years now. The prophecy said 500 years. And that was the case back in 1992 in the United States, and down here in Mexico it was 2010. So it's actually beyond 2000. It's beyond the 500 years. So this is it. We're not starting the 500-year prophecy. We're in it, right? and to act accordingly. And so in this regard, it is in the divine order of things that these actors depart from our stage so that a new world stage can be set, a new way of living can be pursued, a new way of life, a new way of acting in accordance with the natural timeline to, just change the way we do things from this complete dysfunction, caveman technology bullshit to where we could be. I don't want to say should, but where we could be. Because I can't say should and say that's like judging, right? That's like saying, well, you should do this. But I'm saying where we could be if we just, pulled our proverbial heads out of our proverbial, where, and just paid attention to the signs and the signals and the patterns, right? And the actors on the stage, and realized it's just a stage, no? The guy who called himself Shakespeare, didn't he write that? The whole world is but a stage? Well, unless I've installed a virus in my corona chakra, I'm connected to the Great Spirit, and I'm co-creating on this stage. I'm directing, I'm writing the script. I'm directing the actors. I'm picking out the costumes. I am deciding the intermissions. I am deciding the climax, everything. It's my stage, right? So I'm there, and I'm taking this very seriously, my role as a director on the stage, telling Trump what to say. And it goes something like this. Hi, Mr. Central Banker guy. We covered the greetings and everything. So what is it about, let's discuss what is it about your claim that the United States, the people of the United States, owe back to you with interest all the debt that the corporation has incurred? Because the majority of the debt that the corporation has incurred has been to pursue business endeavors that don't resonate with the majority of the people who are being asked to pay the bill. Yeah, I think that's a safe assumption to make, that most Americans would rather take their $10,000 worth of debt that's instead of daily, that's whatever that clock is, you know, that clock that runs up the debt, saying how much that we owe for shit that we don't have nothing to do with, because we participated and gave the tacit consent through the ritual of voting to cons in Congress to pretend that we can be represented as opposed to presenting ourselves. You know, when we have to be careful about this, family. You know, when we walk away from our honor and our responsibility, we also walk away from our power. So yeah, I was telling him, let's see. Oh yeah, so about so basically, let's just establish the facts. The material evidence is, let's have a look at what is the value of the United States Federal Reserve note at this moment on the stage. It's on trajectory to be removed from the list of basket currencies within 2 to 3 years, and it was in the first quarter of 2023. So it's zero. So then you're admitting that the dollar is worth zero. So zero, no matter what the interest rate you multiply that by, is still zero. Now, to issue the claim on behalf of the people, or to speak of the counterclaim on behalf of the people, I would say that if we were to add up every single war of at least the last, I'm going to just go back and say, like, well, the 14th century of England, I believe, was when the Bank of England was established. Could have been the 15th century, but nonetheless, give or take 100 years. All the way up to present day, and we consider all the wars, and not just, not just your contemporary, conventional, symmetrical battlefield war of the planes dropping bombs. Oh no. I'm talking about all the wars, the covert wars as well, all the economic wars, all the social and on every level, right? That the central bankers have been behind to foment that. If you doubt for a minute that the central banks are the impetus and the capital resource behind every single war on this planet, every one of them, then I would, just from a contemporary, military soldier perspective, I would recommend that you read General Smedley Butler's comments on that. He was a very good general officer, and he put it quite simply when he developed his speech called "War is Racket." So I'll let you check into Smedley if you have any doubts about what the central banks get up to. But let's just go back and just add that up. No, we don't even need to go back to the 13th, 14th, 15th. Forget England. We're just talking the United States, because Ronald McDonald, the Trump card clown, is negotiating the bankruptcy proceedings for the United States of America. Formerly the United States of America. Now it's the United States Corporation, right? So for the purpose of dismantling the corporation of the United States. So in this case, we can just go back and say, sometime toward the latter part of the, was it the 17th century? When they first came in with the First National Bank and all that other stuff. And then they got a more stronger foothold in place in the year 1913 with the establishment of the Federal Reserve. And so we'll just go back there. We'll just go back to the turn of the 20th century. months, not very a long time, not a very long time. And we'll add up all the home foreclosures, all the job losses, all the other personal items were foreclosed on, cars, boats, homes, whatever, if you couldn't continue to make the payments. All the student loan debt, all the, well, no, I take that back. Go back, that's a different subject. I'm just talking about the pain and suffering that the central banks have caused due to their orchestration of the market crashes, right? The bubbles and the bursts and, I personally lost well into the six figures, which represented my entire life savings, and it was gone, poof, just like that, because of their market manipulation. So we'll just add up all those losses, right? And try to put a dollar figure on that. And that's just actual damages. That's not personal injury kind of stuff here. So we're going to leave that off to the side, but I just want you to know, if you don't accept this first offer, then this is the offer I'm going to present, to include the actual damages of all the lives you destroyed, of all the homes that were ruined, of all the pain and suffering and misery and starvation and people freezing to death on the streets, can't find work. Think about this, people. Go back and look at some images of the 1929 Great Depression. Go back and consider how many people lost their homes in the last 2008 market crash. So, yes, tell me again, what the hell do you think that the people owe you? Because I don't see it that way. If I just really strictly analytical about this, and I put everything down on paper, and I try to put a dollar amount on all that pain and suffering, I don't think there exists a word to describe how many zeros would be behind that number. So here's my deal. Complete debt forgiveness, as they say. I don't even like that word, because it's not the central banks to forgive us for anything. We should be the ones trying, in a position to forgive them for the pain and suffering they've caused. Yeah, we would basically say, zero. Everything is zeroed out. Jubilee year, I think they call that, right? And that was last year. That was a 7, right? Last year was a 7. This year is an 8. Yes. And that pretty much concludes the bankruptcy proceedings. Now, wait, one more thing, actually, in consideration, in good faith, for the real dollar amount that you owe the American people. Let us ask you to return all that you have stolen, be that personal property, homes, bank accounts, IRAs, savings accounts, investment accounts, brokerage accounts, anything that was lost, right? That in just this last crash, just to say, to recompensate, and not recompensate, but how do I say, to show good faith that we should allow you to not be put to death or spend the rest of your life in prison. And for bringing down the Twin Towers on 9/11 and all this other nonsense and all the wars that began after that and the whole COVID nonsense. This was before the COVID nonsense that I brought this up. So that's how the bankruptcy proceedings went. And then the next thing you know, the Federal Reserve was abolished. It was done so secretly. The debt was sold off to other nations who want to continue to play with debt-based Babylonian cursed fake money systems of the central bankers, and that we, the people in the United States, go back and do something to establish our own national sovereign tangible currency. That's what got me erased. I had less than 6 months and less than 100 subs. Yes, if you don't have a virus installed in your Corona, make a connection to the Creator. and take good care of your sacred imagination. It's not for others to influence, not for others to capture, not for others to entrain or entertain. Especially if those others are artificial intelligence. In reality, I want to just say that you don't require my disclosure about any of this stuff. You can just like try to pick up on this vibe and look at some of the fucking movies, yo. What do you think the reality's meant to look like around us with all that shit being programmed into our sacred imaginations? But it's all good. Just wanted to put this out here as an introduction before I start to talk about things that could get me killed. I had intended to wait until the Ides of March had passed, for sure, and ideally until the end of the Pachacutec, to the end of this year. But given what I've got coming up on my calendar, and given the unreliable signal that I will have to even upload videos or the time to do videos, I thought I should get this out there now. And YouTube owes me that because they erased this content 4 years ago. So the psychological operation of the Certificate of Vaccination ID, that's what COVID stands for. You know how they changed the name? That's a normal thing we do in the top secret secure container information world. We always got to change the name. And that way, when somebody finally catches on to what we're doing in our little compartmentalized worlds, then we've changed the name by then, and you can't find us. That's how they operate. So why change the name from Corona to COVID? Because it's another fucking clue they're dropping. Just in case you missed it the first time, we want to make sure you've been received ample opportunity to use and exercise your free will choice and discernment to figure out what the fuck is going on. Because you know in your heart that something ain't right, but you're just going along to get along. You're just standing on the X. Oh, it's just a little hand gel I'll put on because the guy's standing there telling me I have to do it. Oh, I'll just put on my face diaper to go somewhere because, yes, go along to get along. And you know what that ends up in? All those rituals giving power to that agenda. Anyhow, like I said, that was just a cover story. And a part of another plan in the divine order of things, to provide the appropriate level of blood sacrifice and the culling of a certain type of consciousness on the planet so that we can have a sort of level playing field, let's just say that. Just lose track of the ridiculousness that people fall for. Okay, but I want to say I understand, okay? I'm not, making fun of nobody, but I gotta laugh because if I don't, I'll cry. I'm not afraid of death. That doesn't hold sway over me. The only thing I would really rather care to do is to finish my book. I got that message when I was on the mountain during my 9-day vision quest and my 13-day vision quest. I was like, hey, Scotty, when can I get beamed up? Because this shit's getting real down here. And, being the time traveler, and I kind of just like to sort of, if I have made my contribution, if I have left the legacy or whatever I came here to do, right, then I can face my death at any moment, right? Then if I'm following my heart, right, and then I can go into my cosmic midnight hour with a heart that's light as a feather. So yes, I do, and I will. I do want to write my book and will write my book before I check out of the skin suit. So I just wanted to put that little disclaimer out there. That I am not suicidal. And anyway, I'm not suicidal. Yeah, I just wanted to give this little introduction to the series. Now, I have to caveat in full disclosure, because I don't do tacit disclosure shit. I don't do that. I want to make you aware that the information I present herein should be considered, I don't know, just, it's the Pachacutec, okay? So by the end of this year, this kind of stuff is going to be like, oh yeah, of course. Everybody knows about that, right? But for the moment, it's how do they say? It can be a little dangerous to be in possession of this information. That's just fine, though, to just make sure you establish your psychic defenses, put up your mudra. Remember, family, that's a mudra. It's to establish boundaries. It's to say, this is my field, this is my game, this is my stage, this is my reality, and this is my boundary. And I'm a child of God. I'm a child of Mother Earth, and I'm here to fill out my dreams and fulfill my soul contract. And I have the birthright to do that because I came into this world from, out of the womb, in a natural way. And I'm not, like a clone or a hybrid or a fallen angel breeding with the, I'm not like the Nephilim kind of stories in the Bible and stuff. No, it's I have the right to be here. I have the authority to be here. And as a time traveling shit disturber here to keep things along the natural timeline, I'm pretty fucking serious about what I'm here to do. So, yeah. Later on, we can talk about how to implement a dead man's switch. That would be a good topic to have, I think. And we can also talk about some other rituals to establish psychic defense and move forward. Because really, ultimately, these are the industries of the future. This is the way of the future. And it's time for us to start kind of thinking outside the box and picking up on these vibes of wanting to return to a more beautiful way of living on this planet, of living with this planet, and operating in our fullest potential and fullest power. Like, just doing what we came here to do, right? What's in our hearts, right? Let me just double check my notes, because I think that was about everything I wanted to put together for the introduction. I believe it is with just one more. Jeez, look, I've got all these like script notes here. How long is the video? Oh my God, it's already 38 minutes. Let me just close this one, right? The intro, and then we're going to get into the subject matter. All right, ciao for now, family.